No worries. I'm so glad to have you here today, Aunt Ginger. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm thrilled. Hope I can communicate something to you.
Of course. You gave this beautiful book to me and Tim for our wedding present, and it's the Velveteen Principles, a guide to becoming real. Mm-hmm. I read it in one afternoon. So today I wanted to talk to you about, being real. I love this book. I love the Velveteen Rabbit, of course, when I was little. And I like the author's Toni Raiten-D'Antonio. Mm-hmm. And she lists about 12 principles in her book about how to be real. So I just wanted to talk to you today about what if you had a favorite principle or if you had a favorite part.
Okay. I like the Velveteen Rabbit for the kids too, and for myself. So it was interesting when somebody gave me this book. I read it. You had asked a couple things. What I learned from the book?
Yes.
That once you're real, you cannot become unreal again. You believe that?
Yeah, I do. That's a really good point.
Yes, that was a good thing. The book very much emphasized that. Empathy. Talk a lot about empathy and how it is caught by other people and a profound effect, what a profound effect it has on everybody. It causes our relationships to be deeper, which I guess at my age, I'm more interested in the deeper, forget the rest. I don't have much time left to fool with the rest. But that brings more peace too when you can have a deeper relationship. And I learned that real people, it gave words to what I feel about what real people are. You have a list. It'd be interesting. I don't know, Cricket, if you made a list of who your real people in your life are after you read it. I did. It was interesting to try and gather those in my head. But I knew I gravitated towards those people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, so your first point about being real and that you can't go back to being unreal. Mm-hmm. I love that too, because I think once you find kind of the freedom in it and the relief when you deal in a real world with real people, it just feels so good. Mm-hmm. You don't want to go, even if you wanted to. I don't think you could go back.
No. And the book gives a lot of examples, I think, of what real situations, real people, real meaning comes from that kind of relationship. So it kind of reinforces, if you're half thinking, there's something out there, but you're not sure what, it really helps you identify with that.
She does. She's really clever with words too. I like two of her terms, the one Thinglish, where we turn everything into things, and it creates a distance between people, and it kind of creates this alternate reality where people just, maybe want to collect a lot of possessions or try and pull off like they're perfect to the outside world. And she also has a term called the US of Generica.
Yeah.
Really like that too.
Yeah. You get the picture when she says that. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like that. And I definitely, I don't have patience for a lot of people that aren't real. So I'm very lucky that I have friends and relationships with people that also, I think we have the same values in common, which is some of the stuff in her book. When I started dating Tim, who's my now husband, that was one of our goals was honesty and being real with each other. Because I had, relationships, I don't think relationships can work if you're not being real with your partner, your spouse. And then it's, why not be real with your friends, your coworkers, your customers, everybody in your life. That was the gift that she does have examples of all these real world kind of scenarios that are really good.
She does. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it because you're wise and you might be able to help me. She needs to go on to another book and tell me, how do you weed out some of those people that seem to, what's the word, drain maybe? And it's like, I'm getting old. I don't have a lot of time. I really want my real friend. Anyway, that's a topic for another day, but if you find a book on that, I'm interested.
Right. Well, and that's, I think one of the second thing you brought up was empathy.
Yeah.
And I think that does go a long way towards, there's some people that just aren't living their life like that yet. And, to kind of just extend some empathy and say, it's just a shame that that you can't be real with yourself. And then you're projecting all this stuff on me. I think it's sometimes embarrassing, the stuff that people, I would be embarrassed to project something like that so obviously, but a lot of people I think aren't aware of even how it might sound or come across to someone else when they, maybe they think that they're fooling everybody. By this persona they have, or that's the only thing I can think of why they would.
Well, you're very kind to extend that into a helpful thing instead of how do I get rid of. So that's good. A shame you can't be real with yourself. I'll work on that because I do feel like we should be helping those people in some way, but only to an extent that I still need to grow too.
Right. Well, and if those people, if there's not room in your life, then maybe they also just kind of move to the edges.
Yeah.
I like to think there's no, my door is always open, but if someone doesn't fit, it wasn't meant to be, or it's just not the right time for that friendship or that person.
Okay.
But I'm always hopeful that people can change.
People who love life like you want everybody to. That's why you like the book.
Yeah, I've been taking some personality tests this week, and they're telling me that I see the good in everybody, and I see the potential in everybody is one of my personality traits. I didn't know that before, but I think it's
wonderful.
Yeah.
You ever try and figure out who that came from, or you just accept and are happy for it?
Oh, that's a good question. So you're my father's oldest sister, so you know my dad very well.
Oh, yeah.
I think my dad's very, very, big-hearted.
Oh my goodness, I don't know anybody bigger.
Right. So I probably get a lot of it from him. And both their examples of growing up, they were both really willing to help other people all the time.
Oh, yes.
I think that's something you learn from your environment growing up.
Yes, yeah. I agree. They did do that. And I think the Robbins family does that.
Oh, yeah, I know my sister was asking if it was a genetic trait, because all of you guys are really so generous with time and energy and money and food, just whatever. It's an outpouring. I think that's, I don't think this is one of her principles, but I think generosity kind of ties in with empathy, where, if you can think about somebody else's situation, have compassion for them, you're more likely to give with an open heart and receive with an open heart, because you have a better relationship with everyone around you.
A real connection.
Right.
And I have a little thing here. It came from the dollar store, but it says so well that what we have and share multiplies. And certainly Nanny Robbins didn't have much of anything, less than most people, but she always shared, and it seemed like then you had more.
Yeah.
I can't put that in a mathematical equation to make sense.
It doesn't follow any laws of physics, right?
No, not at all, but it works.
Right. Well, that's why I love love so much. Love is, you can give, the more love you give, the more you have. And the more you spread it, the more comes back to you. And it's definitely one of the most magical things I think about life.
That's good. I'm writing down some of this.
Okay.
Because as you get my age, you don't remember everything. Okay.
When you get to your age, you're full of wisdom and full of telling people apart really quickly.
Yeah, you can't remember much the next day. So it's an adventure every day.
Well, I mean, all the like wise philosophers in life always try and teach you to live in the now.
Yes.
So maybe that's why people lose their memory as they get older, because they're finally learning how to live their life in the now.
Nice of you to find a blessing in that. Oh. Do the Germans respect their elders a little more than the Americans?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like some cultures in Europe where you have the, you know, I have some friends that are Spanish and Italian, and they still have these big families where they live 3 generations in a house together.
Right.
And that's not as common here in Germany. So, but I mean, they're very close, and, you know, Sundays, everything is still closed for business here.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so restaurants are open, but no shops or malls or grocery stores. They're all closed on Sunday. So it's a really big family visit day where people still go, you know, home for the day to like have, you know, a Sunday dinner. So they're close in some ways, but not this multi-generational housing like I think you see in other parts of Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right. What's your next question?
Well, I really also liked her point where she said beliefs lead to feelings, and feelings can change your behavior.
Okay.
You know, she had a really simple, it was almost like a mathematical equation about beliefs. I need to look at it. Beliefs to feelings to behavior. You know, I like to look for the tips and tricks and things of easy ways to remember stuff. So, and my goal kind of with this conversation and this series is to help people also think about ways that they can change their life.
Okay.
And her simple formula was, yeah, if you change your beliefs around something, it changes your emotions. And if you change your emotion, it changes how you behave. You know, so if you're coming at a problem from, you know, with empathy or with generosity or by being real, then it's obviously going to change your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And that ripples out, you know, like all the people that you deal with in your life. It's kind of like that love principle. I love how it's just so easy to spread. Once it's hard to not be real with your, you know, if you're real with your partner, then you want to be real with everyone in your life because you see how, yeah, it makes things easier and it comes back to you. And
oh yeah, it's so rewarding. It's like you never want it to be different once you feel that reward for both of you.
Yeah. Well, I'm very thankful that you gifted me this book, Aunt Ginger. It was very.
I gave it to you because I thought you were real. I think you're real. And people really, I've shared it with a couple people. Some have caught it and enlightened and wanted to know what it said to grow deeper. Some have not, but in my life, it reinforced what real really looks like. Made me have even more empathy and transparency. I think you need that too. And I think what really motivates me, you know, I'm a nurse, so I've been with a lot of dying people, and I have never been with a dying person who says, you know, I met, I knew, I made, I lived in. None, absolutely none of that. It all came down to the relationships they had. Usually the closest people on out, but that's all they wanted to know, talk about, and they really felt good to know they meant something and had a legacy or an effect on somebody close to them. So if that's true, you have to be real. So if you have to be real, it's before you're on your deathbed.
Right. I'm glad you shared that. That's a very good reminder.
Yeah, it's a shame everybody can't quite, not everybody would want to, but it's a shame people can't quite witness that, because it's a real privilege to see a baby born. I think it's a bigger privilege to be with somebody when they're dying. I
Yeah.
really do. The
Yeah.
last, and it's not you, it's what you see of them and how it's comforting to help them pass. And you learn a lot from them, I'll tell you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think you get a lot of clarity even as you get older. And so I think before you die, if there's a lot of wisdom to pass on before that happens.
I think so too. So if we learn from that, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I have anything else that I felt like I had to say to you? Not really. Not really. I'm glad you enjoyed the book. I thought you would, but you never know.
Yeah.
I know you're real. I'm so pleased that you're real and you're happy and connect with people and keep people growing and helping. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Aunt Ginger. I love doing it. And to have other people see that means a lot to me too.
Well, passions show,
That's true.
You can't hide your passion.
Yeah. Speaking of family and everything, I don't think I know how you got the nickname Ginger. Why are you called Ginger?
I don't know it either. All I was told was Dad called me that when I was a baby.
Okay.
Duck.
Yeah.
So my family calls me Ginger. My nursing student friends were allowed to call me Ginger. In high school, I had to write my real name.
Right.
So here on the door of the retirement home, I put Ginger Ann.
Okay.
I could switch back to Ginger. Well, it didn't quite work. So people think John lives with 2 women in here.
The luckiest guy in the floor.
So I don't know how I got it. I like it because my family and some of my close friends from nursing school, it really is sweet to hear that name, but
yeah.
I don't know how
I of course never knew you as anything else, and I didn't even know it was a nickname until maybe I was 15 or something. But I always thought it sounded so cool and so fancy, like this, Ginger Rogers.
I never thought. I just thought it was warm, but John never liked it.
So interesting.
He does not. He thought it sounded like a little horse, so he wouldn't use it. So it did not promote into any of those friendships or his side of the family. Yeah. So if you want my attention and call Ginger, my head turns quickly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and I think this goes back to, I thought it was funny that we both don't use our real names with our friends. But we're both very real people. So I think it's just more about the place where it comes from, and that expression has maybe more value than what other people might label something.
Well, that's a good thought. Yeah. Very good. Well, I'm so glad you're doing this, and I'm glad you enjoyed the book.
Yes, thank you.
Else will enjoy it and get something out of it. It's easy read, like you said.
It's a really easy read, 12 principles, and I love the Velveteen Rabbit, so there is a lot there from the children's book to take away too. Even if you just read the children's book, I think you've understood the concept enough about why it's such a beautiful transformation.
Yeah, if you caught that, you might want to read this book.
Right. Okay, well, I think we're almost to the end already of our half an hour. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Aunt Ginger?
I don't. Oh, there was one little thing I didn't know if you had a comment on. It doesn't happen. It can't happen. It takes a long time to become real, and you have to have empathy and sympathy. That's why it doesn't happen to people who break easily or have sharp edges or have to be carefully kept. Do you have any to say about that?
Yeah, is that from the original Velveteen Rabbit, that quote?
Yes.
Like the kind of high maintenance toys that were made out of metal or had moving parts, they were the first ones to break.
And I'm not sure that didn't come from the skin horse, who was the wise one.
Right.
Toy room. You have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us break at some point. or broken, and it's what happens after that. If you can fix yourself and move through that, that's kind of when the Velveteen Rabbit started falling apart too, is kind of when he became real, because he was loved so much.
Right,
And
right.
the wise horse also was losing all of his, cloth,
Yes.
fabric, and everything.
Yes.
I think that's another good metaphor. I think that it usually takes something in your life to happen that kind of forces you to say, okay, here's an opportunity to be real.
Uh-huh.
Or to just keep living kind of in denial and faking it and turning away from all of that. So, I mean, I don't really know anybody that hasn't had to go through something in their life that's maybe been hard. And I realize that the people that I meet that are the most empathetic and the kindest, they usually had tougher, either like a childhood illness or something in their family or a loved one. They usually have these things that happen in their lives.
Yeah.
It kind of makes everything click into place to make them go search for a different way to live.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that quote where she's saying, I think you can either take that breaking point as I think she even says this too in one of her things. It's how you look at failure is one of her principles.
Yeah.
So if you look at that failure, that break, through it, by judging it, by hating it, by wanting to get away from it, instead of kind of embracing it and sending it some love and seeing what the gift and opportunity there is. Those are the two different kinds of people in the world, because it's not like anybody of us is living without those ripped seams and missing buttons and coming apart at the edges.
And remember, as you get old, all that happens, but if you're really loved, they don't see it. So that's good.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
Now, go do everything you want to do while you have all your abilities.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ann Ginger. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for the book. Thanks to everybody watching on Facebook. I can't wait to see what all of our family says about this.
And tell your husband we said hi.
Yeah, I will.
Good to see you.
All right, good to see you. Love you so much. Bye.
Love you too.
All right, so